Hi guys, welcome back to the Bookworms Buddy. It is time for my November wrap-up / reviews and then my December TBRs. So I'm going to start with my reviews. I actually read 6 books this month, so that was pretty good. It's not as much as I normally can read. I mean, I've read up to 12 books in a month before, but considering it's a holiday month, it kind of slowed things down just a little bit. And I also discovered that I've gotten into the habit of reading more than one book at a time, and I've noticed that it actually takes me longer to finish a book if I'm reading more than one at a time, because I may get involved in one and just stick with that, and when I go back to the other book, then it's like, oh, I gotta catch up to where I'm at, and I gotta remember what I just read. And I've just discovered that I read less when I'm reading more than one book at a time. So I think I'm gonna start just tapering off to reading one book at a time. I've been reading up to 4, so yeah, I think that's affected how many books I'm able to read. So I'm gonna start cutting that down to reading, going back to reading one book at a time. So anyway, to the reviews. So the first book that I want to review is Jeffrey Deaver's The Sleeping Doll. Jeffrey Deaver is actually a new favorite for me, and The Sleeping Doll is book 1 in his Catherine Dance series. I love Catherine Dance's character. She's really strong. She doesn't let people walk all over her. She is kind of jaded a little bit with things that's happened in her life. Like I said in a previous video, I don't like the perfect detectives in books. They just, it takes away from the story for me. So she has her own issues, but she's strong. She's gotten strong because of it. And she's very smart. So I really, really enjoyed reading this book, and I look forward to Roadside Crosses, and also XO. Now, I've read XO already. I did it for an A to Z challenge, not knowing or not realizing this was a part of a series at the time. So I may or may not read that one again. I'm reading this series with my friend Catherine, so, but yeah, the characters, Deaver has a very strong ability when it comes to creating his characters. They're very realistic. They're not perfect. And it makes you want to like them. And his antagonists, from what I've read, are very strong too. And he gives you those characters that you love to hate. So that's really enjoyable for me as well. So if you like mystery and suspense, you might want to try Jeffrey Deaver out, because he's really, really very good. And I plan on starting his Lincoln Rhyme series in the near future. The next one I'm going to review is Reinventing Rachel. Now, this one, if you've seen my haul books, I just got this month, and this was actually a much better book than I thought it was going to be. Our character here is a devout Christian. She has great faith in God, and she lives a pristine life, pretty much. And things just start happening, like her parents' divorce, her fiance's cheating on her, and she just loses that faith that she has, and just takes a different path, which she calls a path to freedom. And this is a lot of the trials she faces, a lot of things she goes through, and then of course, you find out how she ends up in the end of the book. It's a really good story. I was really happy with it. I'd love to read life stories like this. I've got several, and I decided to try this one out. Alison Strobel is a strong writer, and I've never heard of her before this book, and the cover was amazing to me. I loved this cover, which is the first thing that attracted me to the book. And anyway, she's a pretty strong writer. I really liked it. There was a part of the book that I started to get a little, I don't know, I don't want to say disappointed. It went in routes that I didn't really expect, and but I saw why it had to go the way that it did. But anyway, yeah, it was a very, very good book. She's a very strong author. She creates very realistic characters. So I will, if I find anything, read them by Alison Strobel. But like I said, first time I've ever heard of her. The next one I want to review is The 12. Now, if you watched the prior video where I was talking about this one, I said in there that the book was a little slower, and it was in the very beginning. The book started out slower than its predecessor, The Passage, but this book was wow. The further you go in the book and the longer that you're reading the book, the more realistic it comes to you, and I was actually sad that it ended. And of course, there's cliffhangers, and you know, you're sitting there thinking, wow, what, you know, because the next book is coming out, and I think it was City of Mirrors, is that what it's called? I have it wrote down in here somewhere. But anyway, it's coming out this next year, which is part 3 of this series. Justin Cronin has a great talent. That's all I'm going to say. His characters are awesome. And I feel like I right when I start liking a character a lot, something happens, or he just takes you on a huge ride. And this is a great series. So if you ever want to read a thriller of all thrillers, that would be this one. Now, like I said previously, he's done it twice now in the middle of a book on both of them. He totally shifts the story. So you say bye-bye to those characters, and you get introduced to brand new characters, brand new scene, and I found it difficult to wrap my mind around it this time. It took a little bit more effort. But like I said before, I was reading more than one book, so I think jumping in and out of the book kind of takes away from that. So anyway, I caught back onto it, and it finished really strong. So if you want to read a good thriller, try Justin Cronin, the Passage series. This was really good. The next one, Identical, by Ellen Hopkins. This cover is brilliant. This is the only hardback that I have of her books, but one thing that people don't really like about Ellen Hopkins is that she writes in verse, like you can see right here. I'll show you this. She writes in verse, but her books say so much, and they make you feel so much. Every time I read one, I'm just taken aback by how emotional I feel when I read them. And this one wasn't any different than the other ones. It was the same. Just takes you on this emotional ride, and you feel everything. And I know when she writes that she writes a lot of times out of life experience, and they're just, it gives you this feeling of, you know, wow, you know. And anyway. Her characters are always so realistic. It makes you realize what some of our teenagers and stuff go through today, that when we were younger, we didn't have to go through. The choices they have to make, and sometimes they make the wrong choices. And so the whole idea of the story is there's 2 twins. There's Rayanne and Kaylee, and they lead totally different lives, even though they live together. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding their lives, which I'm not going to give any of that away. But the huge twist at the end just really did it for me. It was one of those gasp moments that I did not expect at all. So it's awesome. If you guys can get past the writing in verse, you ought to pick up some Ellen Hopkins. She is a fantastic writer. Young adult. I don't read a whole lot of young adult. She's one of the few that I do read. And her books are amazing. She's an amazing writer. I always feel so much when I read them. And then Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This was a fantastic book. The whole idea is Jacob, you know, and his dad go to this island, and they want to look up or search for this Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And Jacob's in for a lot more than he expected. And that's all I'm going to say. Ransom Riggs is a pretty good writer. And in the back of this book, he gives you the points about how the story came about and the meaning behind everything. And I found that really exciting and really intriguing, how the book came about, and I thought it was really pretty awesome. I'm not going to tell you about that part because a lot of people would probably want to find that out on their own reading the book. And there's a lot of photographs in here, pretty creepy looking photographs at that. But I'm not gonna say anything else because I don't want to give anything away on this book. But if you haven't read it, read it. This is another young adult. It was a very good book. I heard so much about it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to read this book. Well, I happened to go to my used bookstore, and they had the book, and I picked it up. And the last one that I want to review, Ashes to Ashes by Tammy Hogue. This is the one I just finished on the 30th. One thing that I found odd about the book is this is book one in the Kovac and Liska series. It's Sam Kovac and Nikki Liska. But they had another character, Kate Conlon, who seemed to be the protagonist, and John Quinn. And I mean, you would think that it would be Kovac and Liska would be the main characters, but you read more about Kate and John, and the story and stuff with those two is awesome. And you get some backstory on them. You get to learn a little bit about them, and it makes me sad to know that they're probably not going to be in the next book. It's going to be focused back on Kovac and Liska. But Kate does not have a stress-free life at all. A lot of things is always going on and turning her world upside down, but she's really strong. She's a very strong character. And she just kind of has John for kind of a support system. And John is one of those good old boys that he's going to fight till he gets to the mystery and he solves the mystery. And this one was surrounded by a lot of mystery, and I love that. I really love that. And there were some twists, some pretty good twists in the story. This is my first read of Tammy Hogue, and I'm glad that it turned out okay. I gave this a 4 stars. It's just a really strong first read. I really enjoyed it. And again, I was reading more than one book at a time, and this one sat on the back burner. I got to like 150 and then just sat it down because I had buddy reads that I was doing. And I wish I could have devoted more time all at once with this book. And it didn't work out that way. So it was slow for me to pick back up again, but I got back into the groove and ended up loving this book. So if you like mystery, then try Tammy Hogue. I've got a whole bunch of her books, and this is the first time I've had her books for a while, and this is the first one that I've read. I'm looking forward to reading more of them. So the next one in this series is Dust to Dust. Okay, so that is my reviews, my wrap up. Now I'm going to go over my December TBR, which I made it 8. I'm hopeful that I can read them all, especially if I go back to this one book system. The first one that I've got here on my list is actually going to be a buddy read, and it's going to be Cujo by Stephen King. Never read the book, just watched the movie, and I am a huge Stephen King fan. He's my favorite author, and I've never read Cujo. So I figured it was about time because a friend of mine, Michelle, is planning on reading Cujo, so we decided to buddy up on it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this with Michelle. It should be a really good book. I loved the movie, so the book is bound to be better. The next one I chose to read, or chose for February, is House of Sand and Fog, which I just picked this book up, and Catherine showed some interest in it, so maybe we will read it together. So I'm hoping I will enjoy it. It's a relatively quick read. I mean, there's not much to it. The next one I decided on was Jeffrey Deaver's Roadside Crosses, which is book 2 to his Catherine Dance series that me and Catherine are reading. This one sounds phenomenal, and if it plays out like Sleeping Doll did, then I will love this. So I'm really looking forward to reading Roadside Crosses. The next one I chose was Unforgettable. I chose this book because it's out of my comfort zone, and I want to read more books out of my comfort zone. And this is a romance, which I am really not a romance reader. And I'm hoping that I will like it and it will be a good book. So, yeah. The next one I chose was, finally, The Hunger Games. I need to read this series. My husband has raved over it. He read the whole series. We've got all the books. No excuses. I'm reading it. The Hunger Games. Suzanne Collins, here I come. Okay, then the next one I chose, of course, Dust to Dust by Tammy Hogue. I got to find out where Kovac and Liska go from the last case. And I'm sad to know that Kate and John won't be in it, though. But it's okay. It should be a good book. And then I chose Dust and Decay. Dust and Decay is Jonathan Mayberry. It's the Rotten Ruin series, which I read the first book, and it's taken me a long time. I think I read the first one, like, end of summer? I don't even remember when I read it. It was probably even before that. So, don't have to do any reread. So, yeah, Dust and Decay by Jonathan Mayberry. It's a great zombie story, and I've really picked up on my zombie reading, so this should be a great addition. And then the last book, I'm hoping I will get to, Patient Zero. Also by Jonathan Mayberry. This is the Joe Ledger series, book 1. And I actually got this on the sales rack from our bookstore, our used bookstore. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. And from what I read in Rotten Ruin, he's a good writer, so I'm looking forward to reading more of his stuff. And that, my friends, is my December TBR and my wrap-up for November. Happy December, everybody. Thanks for staying tuned, and we'll catch you soon. Bye.